Very good morning to all of you. Myself Dhananjay sir, and I am going to explain the fifth part of your chapter, the glimpses of the past. Student, as you know that the glimpses of the past is directly related to our Indian history and what the events and what the happened during the British rules. This was explained in this chapter. So it is not a very simple chapter, it is a glimpses of your India and Indian history. So in 1 to 4 part I have explained the many circumstances which India would have to suffer during the British rule, but now I am going to explain the things that what happened during 1765 to 1835. This was the period which is known as the very miserable period of India. The very miserable part of India, because during this period India had to suffer a great operations by the British. During this period, British tried to impose our rules and regulations on the Indians. So they passed a rule that is known as Rowlatt Act, you can say, or the Regulation Act. Regulation Act. With the help of that rule, British could arrest anyone without any crime, without any accuse, without any legal notice. That means this regulation gives them an order, or this will give them an authority to send to anyone in imprisonment with the help of this rule. So this was a very hard rule, and with that rule, India got many suffering. So this was the rule which is known as the empowerment or the forceful empowerment of India. Sorry, not India, but British. So many Indians tried to remove this Regulations Act, and they made a lot of strife and struggle. Even they made a procession to remove this. But the British or the East India Company was determined to establish the rule, and with that rules, India had to face a lot of problems. So in the fifth part, I am going to explain something which is given that what happened during this period. This is the brief information about it. And 1818, it was the period when the Regulations Act was established in India by the British, and this gave the permission to British to arrest anyone who belongs to India without any criminal affairs. Okay, so let's see that what the given in your chapter part 5. Chapter part 5. So student, just make your concept and try to search in Indian history that what happened during this period, because I am not taking here the class of history, so I have not a lot of time to explain the whole part of during 1765 to 1835. But what I know that the Regulation Act was passed in 1818. in 1818. So just see on your book that here to mention that but British continued to oppress Indians in 1818. That means the British who came in India and they want to establish themselves in India and they want to rule over India, they continued oppressed Indians during 1818. And they had passed a Regulation 3rd, and they had passed a Regulation Act 3rd, by which they could send anyone into the imprisonment. And in India could be jailed without trial in a court. And Indians had no right to went into the court and demanded for justice because they haven't any rights. So they passed this rule that they have a right to, without any protection, without any protest, they can set them into the jail. Now, all the time British offers in India give a big salaries and also made fortune in private business. Here, one thing is also beneficial for them that they got a handsome salary from the India and they use their salary to make their future, and they began to establish his own business and industries. This is the remarkable point. You have to understand that during this period they were taking a handsome salary and a lot of salary from the India and trying to establish their companies, their industries and their business in India during this period. So this period is known as the milestone in the British history because this was the period when British began to improve their power and began to swallow all the Indian capacity and Indian powers. ये Indian powers को क्या करने लगे? धीरे-धीरे you can say धीरे-धीरे निगलने लगे. Gradually they can gobbled up the power of Indians. Now, in 1829, Britain was exporting British goods worth 7 crores rupees to India. And during this period, during the 1829, when Britain export almost 7 crores worth of goods in India. So student, this is the key factor of any nation. When a nation want to develop himself or itself, then they will have to manufacture, not depend on the export. Export and import, it's not a business. If they export the goods here, but if you want to make your future, then you have to make a lot of production and to import to abroad, then you can get the money, you can get the work. But what about when you would just export the things from anywhere? Then you have paid the money to him, and the country who produce the product, then they will get the lot of amount. This was the main reason what the East India Company wanted. Now, the British prospered and the company loomed while Indian industries began to die. And this is what happened during this period. The British began to loot it. British क्या करने लगे? धीरे धीरे पूरे नेशन को लूटने लगे एंड आवर इंडियन हिस्ट्री एंड आवर इंडियन इंडस्ट्री began to reduced, began to swallow, began to vanish. धीरे धीरे क्या होने लगी? खत्म होने लगी during this period. Now, Governor General Banting reported back home, and during this period, General Banting became the Governor of India, and he just write a letter to back from India, and he write that, listen carefully, he write that the bones of cotton weavers are bleaching the plains of India. That means he said that the bones of Indian weavers is now become feeble and bony, and there is not a blood remain in his bones, because during this period the rules and the regulation and the hardship of life are suck all the drop of blood from their bones. उसने कहा कि अब इंडियन वेबर्स के शरीर में उतना खून नहीं बचा है, सारा खून क्या हो चुका है, इस टाइम पे रीच चुका है, निकल चुका है. दिस इज द मिजरेबल कंडीशन ऑफ इंडिया एंड इंडियंस. नाउ द ब्रिटिश prospered. अब धीरे धीरे क्या होने लगे? ब्रिटिश prospered and make their fortune, began to make their fortune. वो धीरे धीरे अपने भाग्य को बनाने लगे. And this by this way they can become more rich, wealthy, and East India Company began to explore himself on the ground of Indian lands. Okay, now the sixth. I hope so, student, that you have got or you are getting that what I am explaining here. This is the matter of a history. This is the matter of a history. So, if you want to take a lot of knowledge, then you would have to take help of your book. And from the book, you have to pick up the chapter in which this event is being mentioned. Okay? Now, part 6. What is the part 6? It is dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction during 1835. Dissatisfaction. This was the period of 1835 to 1856. This was the period which is known as dissatisfaction. What kind of dissatisfaction was present during this period in India? During this period of India, that Indians began to suppress not by the wealth, by the industry, by the jobs, as well by the language. And during this period, one of a person whose name was Macaulay. Student, I just want to draw your kind attention toward the person who introduced English first time in India. Because this is the gospel of Macaulay. Who introduced English in India, because in that era India used to communicate with anyone in Hindi, Sanskrit, as well as Persian. But Persian was not authentic or adopted language by India. So Hindi and Sanskrit were the most popular language in India. But when Macaulay came in India, he gave a theory of English, and he wanted that our primary schools will stable the language of India, and the Indian also should be aware about this new language. And so this is our duty to hear a little about Macaulay. So Macaulay is a person whose lifespan is 1800 to 1856. This was the lifespan of Macaulay. And he just spent 4 years time in India. It is 1859, and Macaulay just spent only 4 years in India, and during this period he wrote a letter. The name of that letter was Macaulay's Minute. Macaulay's Minute. Macaulay Minute. It is written in 1835. 1835, he aware the British that India and the Indians should be aware about the new language, and that language would be English. And so he gave a new formula that Indian should be studied about Hindi as a native language, Sanskrit as well as English, and from the time onward English is known as the third language. And this is what given in your chapter. So let's start the chapter. Okay students, I hope so that it has been clear now, and I will explain the rest of the things in the next class. Okay, thank you for watching.